1924, a small group of Frenchmen embark on an impossible mission, securing oil resources for a country which has scarcely any. 100 years later, TotalEnergies employs over 100,000 people. It's a multi-energy company operating across the globe. It straddles two worlds, the world of oil and gas and the world of decarbonized energy. How did this incredible adventure start? It was a journey that followed the path of history, the changing needs of society, and the challenges of each time period. The First World War. Motorized vehicles appeared on the battlefield. According to Georges Clemenceau, gasoline was as vital to victory as blood. France realized that it was entirely dependent on British and American oil companies for its supply. It needed access to oil. It was a question of national security. So, in 1924, the country created the Compagnie Française des Pétroles, TotalEnergies' ancestor, which acquired Germany's confiscated shares in the Turkish Petroleum Company. Then, the pioneers stepped in. A small group of men fighting to defend their rights alongside the other shareholders. Meanwhile, in the field, other pioneers were hard at work, geologists. One night in 1927, victory. Their tenacity paid off at last when they struck oil in Iraq. The Roaring Twenties really roared. The world was running at high speed to reestablish a productive industrial sector. The mass production of vehicles, commercial aviation, and large-scale maritime transport, needing more and more fuel. This change of scale triggered an industrial boom. Everything had to be built from scratch. A pipeline of over 1,850 kilometers, the longest in the world and the first to cross borders. An entire refining industry. The largest tanker ever launched. France's first natural gas deposit is discovered at Saint-Marcet.
C'est un résultat qui mérite une mention spéciale au tableau d'honneur de la technique française.
At the end of the 30s, the company's precursors were well positioned. Still small compared to their rivals on the world stage, but ready to grow in pace with demand. But then, the Second World War broke out. The infrastructure was sabotaged or bombed. It would all need to be rebuilt. After the war, there was a wave of optimism. We built big. We had more children. We wanted to live better. The new world had new idols. Cars for going on vacation. And plastic. Synthetic materials for everything and everyone. For the company, that meant turning towards the infinitely small. It was all about molecules, an adventure that started in the lab.
Scientific research is a safeguard for our future.
These were our first steps in petrochemicals.
The structure of the petroleum molecules is being changed into other substances, new substances.
From these new industrial complexes emerged products with high added value to make surfacing, packaging, textiles, resins, as well as oils and fuels with enhanced performance, retailed for the first time under the name Total. A network was born, and it would keep growing. But at the same time, there were new geopolitical upheavals. Independence movements started in Algeria, Iraq, and West Africa.
La foule s'est rangée derrière ses leaders nationaux.
Oil-producing countries turned the tables and moved to take control of their resources, a huge challenge for the oil companies. So the company set out to find new reserves and diversify its resources.
Le groupe étudie les possibilités de forage offshore dans ces mers encombrées de glace.
In France, the giant natural gas deposit Lac is discovered. Nicknamed France's Texas, it promises extraordinary potential. A real challenge faced by the company's pioneers. These pioneers included engineers who had the novel idea to cool the gas into a liquid.
Cette usine est une des premières réalisations de ce genre dans le monde.
And then, gas began to cross the oceans.
Jules Verne, premier méthanier français, destiné à transporter du gaz naturel sous forme liquide à moins 160 degrés.
The geographic limits were constantly being pushed forward. Already operating in the Middle East, North Africa, France, and North America, the company now moved into Asia, particularly Indonesia. It expanded its operations in sub-Saharan Africa, Gabon, Congo, and began sea exploration, the great unknown. By the end of the 60s, the company had gone global. In the early 70s, the energy market was no longer dominated by the oil majors. OPEC dramatically increased oil prices, leaving the world in shock. The oil crisis. The world experiences gasoline shortages for the first time.
Now, for the first time since creation, we can foresee a time when there may not be any more sources of energy for us to consume.
Inflation followed, falling industrial output, and mass unemployment. It was the end of the post-war boom. With rising oil prices, new reserves in difficult areas became profitable. So we pushed the boundaries even further.
Pour pouvoir exploiter cette nappe de gaz à plus de 100 mètres de fond, il a fallu beaucoup d'imagination, de courage. Il a fallu inventer des techniques nouvelles pour vaincre l'hostilité.
At sea, there were dynamic positioning vessels, deep water drilling, horizontal drilling, high-pressure welding. A series of firsts by engineers and drillers. We could exploit fields that were previously inaccessible, like Ekofisk, Frigg, and Alwyn. Then, the adventure of very deep offshore started. The pioneers are still pushing the limits forward in Angola with Golden Block 17 and in Nigeria. Technological innovation allowed supply to keep pace with demand. It seemed that nothing would stop the oil age. During this period, there were 3 companies in the field, sometimes rivals, sometimes partners, that finally merged at the end of the century. Together, they became the world's 4th largest oil major, TotalEnergies.
Pour la première fois, les actionnaires du nouveau groupe sont réunis pour voter au sein d'une même assemblée générale.
But then, the company was shaken by a major crisis.
C'est un appel de détresse lancé ce matin à 6 heures qui a tout déclenché. Le navire finira par se briser.
The sinking of the Erica.
L'arrière laisse aussitôt le fuel s'échapper.
And a major oil spill. Then, nearly 2 years later, another crisis.
Terrible explosion à Toulouse, dans une usine chimique de la
The explosion of the AZF plant in the south of France. Both the company and the country were badly shaken. These risks called for a proportionate response. The company installed safety to the rank of value. The message was sent worldwide. This was essential for the employees, stakeholders, and even for the future of the company. At the dawn of the new millennium, scientists are unanimous. and awareness is changing. We must act against climate change. So, the company changed its strategy, declaring its ambition to be a leader in energy transition. More energy, less emissions. That's our path. In addition to oil and gas, the company is investing in electricity and renewables and in low-carbon molecules in order to become an integrated multi-energy company.
Energy is reinventing itself. That is why Total is transforming and becoming TotalEnergies.
TotalEnergies, a new name that expresses the company's transition and its resolute dynamic. Our goal, continuing to provide the energy the world needs today while building the energy system of tomorrow. A huge challenge that the men and women at TotalEnergies are ready to meet as they write the narrative of the next 100 years with their pioneer spirit.